Ruma, so what motivated you to transition from commercial litigation to founding your own law firm?
Ooh, a couple of factors. I would say the biggest one was definitely the pandemic, coupled with my mom's encouragement. So, my mom is an entrepreneur. She owns her own mortgage brokerage. My parents actually work together. And so, for the last over 25 years, I've watched them build a business from scratch. And lasting that long is like quite a feat and an accomplishment. I can't say I was like super inspired by it because it was hard. Like in 2008 when the market crashed, it was traumatizing. So I started with the safe route of like, going into a law firm job. And and then once the pandemic hit, we had a hard look at life. My life was very different then. I was living with my ex-husband. And my mom kind of paused and was just like, I'm thinking about wanting to actually retire from working. And she's very young. She's like in her early 50s. I was like, retire? What are you going to do with all your time? And she's just like, well, I just think it's time for you to take over the family business. And I was like, I'm truly flattered. However, I am killing it at being an attorney and I'm just not ready to leave that and like leave that degree behind, and I feel like there's still things that I need to do with it. And she was like, well, you've been working really hard for the last amount, like X amount of years. Like I had just finished a trial right before the pandemic hit, and between like October to when the trial finished in January of 2020, I like fell off the face of the earth because we were just in trial mode
How litigation
preparing.
works sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. And she was just like, I mean, is that what you want your life to be? And I was like, well, my boss also told me like cases like that only come around once in a lifetime. So maybe I've also peaked. So I'm open to hearing what you have to say. And then she was like, well, if you don't want to quit the law, start your own firm. And I was like, I've worked for these like big machines my whole life. Like, I don't know how to start a firm. Like, I've always been, it was like Covington and Burling. Then I went to Fox Rothschild. Then I went to Ackerman in New York City. And these are big, big firms with hundreds of attorneys. And I'm like, infrastructure, systems. I'm like, hiring. Like, I was like, that sounds crazy. And she was like, just start, just try, see if you like it. And I was like, what would I even practice? Because I wasn't going to open a litigation firm. It was just like way too many resources. So she's like, oh, well, why don't you do residential closings? And I was like, that's very different from what I do. And she was like, maybe you'll like it. And so she basically ended up introducing me to an elderly attorney who's definitely like on his way to retirement now. And he was telling me about just his storied life of being a solo practitioner. And I was like, well, if I start my own firm, I definitely don't want to be a solo, but I will take all the wisdom you're willing to give me to at least get me started on this area of just residential closings. So that's kind of how it all started.
I I mean, I wonder why was she pushing it so much? That's my first question. Is because she clearly was trying to push you in a direction. So I'm just curious. Do you know why?
My mom has like a weird sixth sense. It's like this like woo woo stuff. And my entire life, it's like I always would go against what she would say.
That's
And
I
then
mean
I
that's
would
what a child does. Yeah. So
and then I would
that's
just end up
understandable.
right back, in the initial path that she told me to do. So for once, I was like, maybe I won't push so hard on this one. And because I was working remotely during that time, I was actually able to like take on clients like just under the letterhead of the attorney that was mentoring me, and keep it separate from like the law firm work that I was doing. And it wasn't so obvious. Like I worked at like crazy hours anyways. But I was basically able to trial it and see if I wanted to work with just the everyday consumer because I was used to representing big corporations and commercial landlords and just like an entity, right? Like no soul. And now I was working with people, emotions, and stress of them, purchasing like the biggest investment of their life. So it was like it was night and day. So I also was like, that's such a shift. And I wanted to make sure that I really like enjoyed it, wanted to do it, at least sparked my interest in some way. And then it did. So I was fortunate for that.
Yeah. I mean, do you miss the litigation at all?
I don't. But I really do love having that background because real estate transactions can get a little dicey, but because of my world, like because of my background in litigation, oftentimes I'm able to just settle it before it gets to a point of like these parties suing each other. So in that way, when like the opposing counsel or like the other attorney starts getting a little like, I'm going to sue you, we're going to start sending letters and things like that, like I don't freak out because I used to be a litigator, and I'm like, this is nothing. Like, don't worry about it.